it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today we are going to do a fun fold card, but of course we are going to do the easy version, which I think is better. This is going to be the center step fun fold card, and I'm going to start off with some vanilla malt cardstock. This is from Fawn, and I am going to cut this down. I'm actually going to show you 3 different versions today because size does not matter. The very first one that I'm making, this is going to be 5 inches wide, and I have got this to be 9.5 inches long. Then what you're going to do is you are going to score at 1 inch, then you are going to score at 2 inches, and then you are going to halve whatever is rest. Now for me, that is 7.5 inches, and so I'm just going to split that in half, and for this card it ends up being about 3 3/4 inches. Now, no matter what size card I do, I generally do the step part of it, which you'll see in just a second. I usually do 1 inch for each thing, so it's always 2 inches with a score in the middle, and then I just make up whatever's rest. Sometimes I have a bigger piece of cardstock and it can be longer. Sometimes I have a smaller piece of cardstock and I make the big fold shorter. So there you can see the shape sideways of what we want. The fold is pretty easy. This is only the first part of it. We are going to add a second part. Again, this can be as wide and as pretty much as tall as you want. So for this one, I am going to do 3 3/4 inches wide, and then I'm going to score it at about the 4 1/4 inches. Now I'm doing it at 4 1/4 because this is going to be 4 1/4 tall by 5.5 inches wide, and that means that it will fit in a regular sized envelope. So all you need is a piece that goes up and then a wee flap over the back. You can cut that off or leave it as long as you want. Now we're actually going to make 3 of these cards today, so by the end of this video you're going to be an absolute expert, and that's why it's a longer video. So all you want to do is just make sure that all of your folds are nice. This vanilla cardstock is quite heavyweight, which is brilliant for card bases, but it does mean if I give it a good score it will have nice, very nice neat folds. So you can see that this here is going to sit in the center and kind of pop out. So it all folds flat for a nice neat card. But the original way of doing this is where you have one sheet of paper and you cut slits in it and you kind of put, folds in different places. For me, that's too much measuring, and I don't think I have, I didn't have the patience for that. So I prefer this way to do the center step card. So I guess it's kind of the cheats version, but I'm okay with that. Cheat has negative connotations, and this is not a negative, this is a positive. And so we can put those pieces aside. Now, at this point, decorating the world is your oyster. I have these 2 dies here. This is I think it's called Hummingbird duos, and then the Cosmos duo. And what I like about these is they are all one piece. Now, for both of these dies, I am generally not a big fan of putting lots of dies together, particularly when I can't really obviously tell where they go without having to I'm not a big fan of lining up little key lock spaces, and I'm not good at that. I'm not patient at it, and that's why I love these ones. This Cosmos die, there's actually a couple of these from a recent release that I absolutely fell in love with because I am all about simplicity that looks amazing, and this one here is just one of those. Now I have got a little piece of 4-inch wide mint tape, and that's what I've just popped these down onto to do some very, very easy colouring. Now I have done this one in another video, and I'm going to show you the hummingbirds too. I have some shaded lilac, mustard seed, vintage photo, and mowed lawn. Now I know that seems like a lot of inks, but truly I just use a green for the stem. I use the shaded lilac. I don't actually want purple leaves, but as you can see in the packaging, I just use the packaging for inspiration because, this is not my forte. I add a tiny bit of colour in towards the center of the flower, and it gives that illusion of an extra white petal and a little bit of shadow, darker shading in towards the center, like those petals are sort of bent, you know, down inwards, if that makes sense. So then that is the only reason. You could also do a little bit of like tumbled glass or something like that. I think that would work too. So this is the shaded lilac. It looks very purple here, but truly I actually get most of the ink off my brush, and then I just want a tiny little bit of ink to go around there. Now we're going to be putting the little center over top, so you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. We've only got a tiny bit of ink on there, so it can't go too far. Then once I have done that, I'm going to do the yellow. So any yellow, this one happens to be mustard seed. There you go, colored that. That's done for the yellow. And then just because I like to bring in a little bit of vintage photo around the centers here, and I just add a tiny little bit out and around it, and that's it done. This is one of those, you know, I don't know, takes me maybe 2 to 3 minutes maximum to colour this flower, and you put this together and it is stunning. I absolutely love this one. So here's how you put it together, super simple. It's got the gorgeous stem. I also think that we could add the stem and make it into a longer vine, or even just add one out the right hand side and make it a little bouquet. You could make a couple taller coming in between those two. I have all sorts of ideas, but nonetheless, this is the original way, and I'm just copying the packaging. That's all I am doing. And then pop these two in the center, and we are done. Look how gorgeous this looks. I will remove it from here because there could be a little bit of glue behind that stem there, and then it is just absolutely beautiful. This was so simple, so I like that. Now, as for the hummingbird, I want it to be the same. I'm going to use the same piece of mint tape because we can keep reusing this over and over and over again. And I'm going to use the mustard seed again, then Mermaid Lagoon, tumbled glass, and seedless preserves. Again, I am just copying the packaging because at this point I haven't, you know, gone off that. I haven't got the bravery to do that, and hopefully that's what my videos are meant to inspire as well. Sometimes you see something and you want to case it or copy it, or you know, you get an idea that sparks something that you then take and make your own. I don't mind what you do, whether you copy these cards identical or whether you take a singular idea. If anything, you know, sparks some you know, inspiration or something, then that's perfect. That's the idea of these videos. So that's the whole reason I made this channel, and it's the whole reason that I continue this channel, is because everybody can do card making and we don't have to have everything. There are ways that we can, I like to say that there's always more than one way. We can make this work. You don't have to have these birds. There are other gorgeous birds or bees or butterflies or, you know, anything that we could put in place of these. But I just thought, I don't have too many bird dies. In fact, I have maybe one, maybe a couple, and I like the size of these little smaller ones. Generally, they are bigger. Anywho, I have gotten into bees a little bit recently, but to go with that, I had purchased this Happy As Can Be from Echo Park. Now, just because it sort of has a bee theme doesn't mean we can't use it for anything else. So I have pulled a couple of papers out of here that are going to be backgrounds, and then I'm actually going to pull one more out because in most of these, the place that you're going to write, the space is going to be on the reverse side, the back of the card, and that's also where we're going to cover up that excess little flap. This will all come together soon. You'll all see how it comes together for the first one, and then we'll make a couple of others, I promise. And so this here, this little piece I thought was perfect. It had a little bit of bright happiness and some flowers on there, but it had plenty of space and some lines for writing. So let's start assembling. Now, as for measurements, the bottom flap here is going to be 1 inch wide by 5.5, and that means I will do 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4. That will be the strip. I just do 1/4 of an inch smaller than your actual measurements, and that way I get a 1/8 border around everything. So I generally just, you know, measure and check that it fits, and we're good to go. So this is the panel that will go over top of it, and then you'll see it all come together nicely. You can choose as many different patterns as you would like. You could also do inking if you want to. I'm going to show you another version where we just use pattern paper for the whole entire card base. But I'm just seeing how I want these little birdies. Do I want one or do I want two? Now I do quite like both of them, but I think one is going to work well because I'm going to pop a little sentiment in there too. So one is okay for today. I am putting these down nice and flat because the cardstock with the fun fold creates a little bit of bulk, not too bad, but I'm going to keep it as is. Then I pop the flowers on. It is going to be shrunk down just a little bit so that the stem pops down the bottom, so I will need to, you know, just give that a little snip off the bottom, but it's nice to have the option of how tall I would like to put this. And then I thought that left a really nice space for a little sentiment. Again, I think this card could be for many different occasions. I'm going to use my little Violet Studio sticker pad. This is a cheap and cheerful, and I am loving it. I know that I've used it in many videos, but that just means that it is very good value for money, and I'm getting the most out of it. I have a little happy birthday that I'm going to pop down there, and I think that looks pretty cute. But wait till we put it all together and it's going to look even better. So this is the part where you've got your card base, and this is going to attach here, and the flap goes over the back. Now, that it doesn't matter how long the flap over the back is, because we're going to cover it. So if you have a short flap, that's fine. If it goes down longer, that's also fine. You can cut a little bit off if you want to. I add a little bit of glue down the bottom here. Now, I just roughly try and get it centered. About here, I was like, oh, should I be quickly measuring? And so I did grab my ruler to make sure that it was, I don't know, somewhat in the middle. I'm not too fussy on measuring things, and it's probably too late to shift it anyway. But, you know, give or take, it's roughly in the center. And then from there, all you need to do is turn the back of the card over, and you can adhere down the last flap. Now, I like to do them separately, just so I know how much, you know, space I've got to do with the flap at the back. So turn it over, and then I just pull it up. Make sure you don't put it right to the fold there, because we don't want to, you know, adhere it to itself. We still want it to fold out. So just do it sort of to the end of your flap, and then fold it down. Make sure it's not going to get itself. And then I'm using the Art Glitter Glue, so it does dry very, very quickly. That is one pro or con that you might think about this glue. And then we have this gorgeous little fun fold card. Now I have that extra piece here ready to go. As I said, this is going to cover up that little flap, and then it is going to also provide a space that we can write any messages or a little message to our recipient on here. So that is one card done and dusted. I love this one. This one is absolutely gorgeous. I'll show you the side in a second, and it's got a gorgeous little fun fold easy card. These are pretty quick. Now the next one, I want to show you how quick this is to put together. I'm going to use the Christmas time paper pad from Echo Park. I'm also going to use a little ephemera one as well. You don't have to have these, but most paper pads have an element that you could cut out as well, and that would be perfect. But for this one is the smallest one that I created, and it is going to be still 5 inches across. So 5 inches wide, and then it is going to be 6.5 inches is the main panel, and then of course I have the 2 inches that I create the little fold, the step at the front. So actually the length of this one would be 5 inches by 8.5 inches. And then I just do the 1 inch fold, and then, the score at the 1 inch and then at the 2 inch, and that creates our card. And then I just halve the rest of it, which for this one happens to be the rest of it, which was 6.5, so that would be 3.25 inches is where I do the fold up the top. So I just used some pattern paper from the paper pad, and then I used one of the elements from the ephemera, and that just covered up the entire little front step panel. I had this extra little piece here that I thought I'll make the back a little bit, you know, decorate it a little bit too. I also have a couple of little flags there that I will pop in. This is from the ephemera as well, and I will just layer these up. Even though it's only on a regular white piece of cardstock on the back, this is the same vanilla malt cardstock that is creating our base, so it will stand off nicely, but I still wanted to make it a little bit Christmassy. And this is sort of how I do Christmas cards. I just, you know, I do them occasionally, make sure that I'm sort of working through and getting the odd one done so that it's not quite as stressful leading up to Christmas at the end of the year. And it's just wee cards like this that really help me along the way. So that is the rear panel done that will cover up our little fun fold in a second. And then for this one, I can pop this on. I put a little bit of glue down the bottom so it adheres to that little red step there. Again, just roughly eyeballing where it should go. And I just do that front bit and then turn the whole card over so I can adhere the flap at the back. And then of course we're going to cover all of that using the white panel that we created. Again, whatever measurements you make, I just reduce them by 1/4 of an inch so that it has a 1/8 of an inch border all around. And that is just so that you can see the cardstock that you used for your card base. So all I do is make the flap at the center step at the front. That is going to be 2 inches 2 inches in length, and that way you just score at 1 inch and then score at 2 inches, and that becomes the front center step. And then you can make that little card bit at the back whatever you like. For this one, as I said, it was going to be 6.5 inches, which means, you know, I score at 3 1/4, and that creates the back the back part of the card. But yeah, 1 inch for the little step at the front seems to work no matter what size I do at the back. Now, last one is going to be super sweet and simple. This is the Happy Birthday from Mintay, and this one is gorgeous. I love this sort of cushiony design, but I wanted to show you that actually you can just create this straight out of patterned paper. Now, this set is a 6 by 8 inch paper pad, which means I only have 8 inches to work with. And so as I said, I always do the step at the front 1 inch, so that means 2 inches because it creates the step. And so I am going to do the rest of it, which is left will be 6 inches. So it's only actually 3 inches tall. Again, I have gone 5 inches wide for this one. So it's actually pretty short, but I think it works. And then for the step part that we adhered to the front, I'm still going to go 4 inches tall, and then the center step is 3 1/4 inches wide. And that just means that, again, it's still going to fit in my regular card envelopes that I use. Now, this is the fussy cut elements that I have cut out of one of the pages of the paper pad. So it's all just come from one space. This one here also came from the paper pad, and it's going to be, you know, almost like a tablecloth or a table setting. I don't know. Something to ground the elements that we're popping on there. And then I've got a few wee fussy cut items that I will adhere down. I'm just keeping everything relatively flat so that it all sits nice and even. But the cardstock that I have used for the card base, so to speak, is quite dark. So someone is going to have a little bit of trouble writing on that. So I did want to go through the paper pad and pick out a piece that someone would be able to write on. Now, I could have just adhered a white piece of regular cardstock to the back. That would have worked perfectly fine. But I thought, in keeping, you know, it was a bit random because there was nothing else on the card that had the white cardstock. So I am going to choose another piece of the patterned paper from the pack, which is actually going to be just the reverse side of this paper. So it's actually the same paper, and it's just the reverse side, which is nice and easy for somebody to write on. And then I have a couple of other elements, a little bow and a little champagne glass, and that will just, you know, add some little embellishments to the back. Now, this is so super simple. Truly, this one took me no time at all because I already had the elements fussy cut out. That's what I do when I get a paper pad that has those elements in it. I just generally go ahead and fussy cut out some of them because I know I'll need them at some point. And then I create a little pocket at the back of the paper pad, and that's where I keep them so that I know where to find them next time. So that is all 3 of the little center step cards done, fun fold cards. These are so much fun to create, very quick, very simple, and yet they look quite cool. They stand up beautifully on someone's windowsill, so that's always nice. And I hope that you have enjoyed that we have included a Christmas card in this one today. So let me know which one is your favorite. I'm leaning towards the flowers and the little bird. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed creating that one. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here. Supplies will be listed below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.